Hello, beautiful manifestors. It is Olivia Grace, and I am back with another video for you guys. And today we are talking about 3 reasons why your manifestation hasn't come yet. So before I get into that, I am a manifestation coach. I can help you if you're stuck in your manifestation. And those links are in the description if you want to do one-on-one coaching with me. I'm also doing a group program this fall that I'm super, super excited about. I haven't done a group program in about a year, I think. And this one really just was downloaded to me. So I'm just knowing that it's going to be really special. It's very intentional, it's very purposed, and I'm excited about the 9 women that are going to be joining me. So if you're interested, those links will be in the description. Well, actually, just email me to the email in the description and I will send you more details on that. But it is on the topic of purpose, passion, and prosperity. And we are really embodying new core beliefs that allow our manifestations to be automatic, because I really intend to get back to effortless manifestation as it should be, okay? And these 3 things are going to be talking about what could be going on. So when you're not getting your manifestation, we know that when it comes to using the law of assumption or even just manifesting in general, persistence is key, right? And we all know that. But obviously, there are things that prevent us from persisting. And those are the things that I want to talk about today. So, the first thing that I've really been noticing is your state of being, right? So, your state of being, when you are in a victim mentality or even in a survival mentality, which I think we talk about the victim mentality a bit, but we don't really talk about this being in survival mode, right? Which is a state of need, right? A state of desperation. And so when you're coming from survival mode, you're not in creator mode. You're in I need and I'm lacking. That's the 2 main things that you're feeling, which is complete opposite from I have and I can create anything that I want, right? So but obviously a lot of times when it comes to things like money, or even in, like SP, things like that, it can create that kind of need and desperate energy. So your state of consciousness though, because you can be appearing to lack something, but be conscious of having it, right? And that is what manifestation basically is. You can look in front of you and see, like, it seems as if I don't have these things, but you can be knowing in yourself that you do in fact have those things. My phone is dying. What's new? But but to be able to do that, you guys, and being able to persist and even being able to believe in yourself and your power and your ability and the powers that be, it is a certain state of consciousness. And I want to like explain this further. So I want you to think about, and I talk about this a lot, but I want you guys to think about before you even knew what manifesting was, like when you were just living life like a regular person, you were at a different state of consciousness at that time. You were not in a state of consciousness of someone who was creating. And because of that, life was showing itself to you as that you don't have anything to do with how it's going, basically, that you are subject to what happens, right? So life showed you what you thought until you learned about manifestation. Then you learned that, wait, I'm creating my reality. And then you were in a different state of consciousness, a higher state of consciousness. And from that state of consciousness, you could see the connection between yourself and your reality, right? And it makes more, and you're able to basically see and experience and believe that, you know what, if I decide something, then it can happen for me, right? And so an even higher state of consciousness is really just knowing that more deeply, right? And really taking all the responsibility for your reality, realizing that this is my mirror. This reality is my mirror. And so that if I can tap into myself, if I can change myself, then the reality outside of me will and must happen and must change. And that you can do it, right? Like that you can affect whatever it is. Like when it comes to something that you're struggling with, you guys, there is a part of you that believes that that thing is above you, or believes that you simply can't have it. You may believe that it can be manifested, but there may be a part of you who believes that you specifically can't manifest, or you specifically can't have those things, right? And that prevents you from persisting, because you'll persist for a while, but then you're too focused on the outside, right? Which is another, I feel like something else that I've been understanding is, when you're in a higher state of consciousness is when you're really identifying and knowing that this is, you're focused inwardly. Basically, you're focused inwardly. Your validation is coming inwardly. Your work is coming inwardly, right? When you're in a lower state of being, it's all about what's going on outside of you, and how can you force the things outside of you to create an experience inside, right? But in the higher state of being, you're knowing that you are the experience on the inside, and your experience on the inside is what's going to be reflected out, right? So that's being in a certain state of consciousness, though, in a higher state of consciousness. And so in that, so like I was saying though, like most of us here, if you're on this channel, you're already at a pretty high state of consciousness. You're already knowing that you're creating your reality, right? But taking that to the next level of knowing, like, and really having like confidence in your abilities, like extreme confidence, because it wouldn't matter, right? Like if you were a wizard, and you knew that you had infinite magical powers, if somebody dropped you into the middle of like Antarctica, and like I don't know, the ocean or something like that, you're floating on an iceberg, any normal person is going to freak out. Any normal person is going to be like, holy shit, like what the fuck? Oh my God, I'm going to die. If you're a wizard, if you know you have magical powers, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to teleport myself back to where I need to be, right? And that's kind of the mentality of the circumstances don't matter, that you are above the circumstances, right? But that is a certain state of consciousness, right? Because there can be, a manifester could find themselves in the middle of, the Arctic Ocean, and at a certain state of consciousness, you might know that you're creating your reality, right? But you might not, you might feel like in this situation, this is bigger than me, right? But in a higher state than that is knowing that nothing is bigger than you, right? Nothing is over you. Nothing is bigger than your power. And I feel like manifesting our desires, we are experiencing that at different levels, right? So we maybe master one thing. Okay, I can manifest this, great. Then we get this other thing that seems like such a big problem. But like I said, you guys, that is that part of you that is believing that this is bigger than me, that I can't do this, right? Or that I specifically can't have this. I specifically can't manifest this, right? Because I think sometimes we're thinking that just because I know about manifestation, and because I know that some people have done this or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that you think it's possible for you, right? And so that's why when it comes to persisting, you stop persisting, because deep down you don't believe that your persistence is actually going to get it for you, right? If you looked into the future and you saw, like, you traveled to the future and you saw, hi Stacy, and you saw that you had exactly what you wanted. You spoke to your future self, and your future self told you, look, all I did was persist in it, and I got it, and it happened for me. Would you stop? You wouldn't stop. You have proof, right? So you need to create that knowing without needing to go and meet your future self. If you know, you will persist, right? So here's the next thing though. And this one is something that I've touched on in previous videos, but your identity, your self-concept, right? Sometimes can be, and this is why I feel like bigger desires, can be issues for people when it comes to like love, or it comes to, lot low, like being a millionaire, or it comes to all these things, is that the person that you identify as, that the identity that you hold for yourself is not in line with the identity of the person who has those things, right? And again, this goes into, like I said, looking on the outside to create an inward experience, looking on the outside, looking for things on the outside to tell you who you are, right? Before you make the identity change. But you want to make the identity change and see yourself as someone who not only can have these things, but deserves these things, right? Should have these things, will have these things, can have these things, right? And having that identity, and a lot of that has to do with self-worth, you guys. And I'm saying this from so much experience with not only myself, but people that I talk to. You can tell, even if you observe people that are doing very well in their life, there's a certain amount of confidence in themselves or in their abilities, in their craft, in their art, in whatever it is, right? And when people that are kind of downtrodden in on life, there's a certain amount of I'm not good enough in some form, right? And this can happen in a lot of different forms, but there's that lack of self-esteem, right? And when you don't think highly of yourself, you don't think that you deserve high. You don't think you deserve the best things. You're a person that'll say, well, I don't need a Benz, so, a Toyota Camry is just good enough for me. And I'm not, it's not about the cars, you guys, but see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Oh, I don't really need, a house all to myself. It's fine for me to share, my house with roommates for the rest of my life. Like there's a part of you that doesn't see yourself as deserving of receiving and receiving in abundance, right? So many people can't even receive a compliment, right? They're so uncomfortable. They have to shrink away from the compliment or tell you why. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm not all that. This isn't all that. This isn't that nice. I'm not that good. Like it's like we're ashamed of being celebrated, right? Of being lifted up, of being admired, of being adored, right? And when that's your identity and you're ashamed of being adored, how can you call in a man that adores you, right? How can you call in, success in whatever it is that you're doing if you're ashamed of being uplifted, you're ashamed of being put on a pedestal, right? So that identity of really a lack of self-worth, you guys, which I just see in so many people, that is what I'm focusing on in my group coaching, because it is at the root of everything. You automatically kind of push things away. And again, like I said, persistence will get it, but you're not going to persist if deep down, and it's not even like, let me finish my sentence. You're not going to persist if deep down you feel like you're a person that is not deserving of magnificent things. Many of us can feel like, well, we deserve, about the regular things of life, but deserving to live the life of your dreams and travel the world with the love of your life, and to have the home of your dreams, to have the relationship of your dreams, to have the body of your dreams. A lot of us are unfortunately in a mental state that doesn't allow that because we feel like we don't deserve that. And so subconsciously, that's what I was about to say, we subconsciously push it away. We don't even, it's not even like conscious, we're not conscious that we're doing that because we want these things so bad, right? We want these things so bad because we want to feel better, right? We want to feel self-love. We want to feel worthy. And we're feeling like these things, outside of me are going to create that experience for me inside, right? So we're searching for these things and trying for years and years and years and years to get these things, but we're not able to actually, like when it comes to actually persisting and actually continuously showing up for ourselves, we're not doing that because we're in a state of like internally, I don't really deserve it. Well, I'm not the kind of person that gets to experience that. Well, maybe in the next lifetime, right? So there's that identity of I'm not good enough. And it's not always on the top of your head, right? That's what's subconscious, it's below. So you're automatically giving up. You're automatically, giving up on yourself or not doing your techniques that make you feel good, or not prioritizing your state of being, or you're letting your bullshit thoughts tell you who you are. You're letting your circumstance tell you who you are, right? Or many of us are perpetually waiting, right? Which is actually going to bring me perfectly into number 3. That is another huge one that I'm like seeing with you guys, but you're not doing the work to persist in having what you want, right? Because of that self-identity, right? So the next part is, this is so funny because many of you guys are not even doing the number one thing that it is to do. Many of us are not even assuming our desire at all. We're not even assuming it, you guys, because listen to what an assumption is, right? An assumption is not saying, oh, well, how do I get this thing? It's not saying, well, when is it going to come, right? This is why Abdullah would slam the door in Neville's face. You are in Barbados, right? You have it. So making an assumption is accepting something as a fact without proof, you guys. So many of us are saying, well, I'm waiting on this thing to change. I'm waiting on the bank account figure to change. I'm waiting on my body to look this certain way. I'm waiting on my SP to show up and say these certain things. And then I can say that, yes, I have my desire. Hi, S. Rose. Um, then I can say, yes, I have my desire, right? But that is not assuming, right? That's not an assumption. That is waiting. And that's why so many of us are in perpetual waiting or in perpetual trying. Now, that's a sneaky, sneaky thing too, because it's like, well, I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying. I'm doing my affirmations. I'm doing my sat scene, right? And ooh, this is on my heart to say right now. This is like a little bonus for you guys. Y'all, watching videos is not assuming. Watching videos, reading books is not assuming. You can, and I get it, because when you're watching the videos and you're reading the books, you're getting this feeling, right? You're feeling your power. That's what it is. You're reminded of who you are. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. I can create anything I want. Oh yeah, that's right. I do have this power, and it makes you feel really good. And you mistake that for assuming your desire. You can feel really good and still in your mind be accepting that this thing is not mine, right? So again, back to what I was saying, a lot of you guys are not assuming your desire. You're in the mode of trying. I'm trying to make it happen, right? I'm doing these things so that it can happen. It hasn't happened yet. So I know I need to do my sats tonight. I know I need to do these affirmations for 50 days. I know I need to do these things. And I'm not telling you guys not to do techniques, right? But when you actually assume your desire is real, when you actually assume that your desire is yours, when you actually assume the state of the wish fulfilled, you're automatically going to do techniques. You're automatically going to be thinking and dwelling in your imagination of how wonderful it is now that you've received this thing, right? You're automatically going to want to, just visualize or affirm or script or whatever, because it's literally in line with who you've decided that you are, right? So actually make the assumption, you guys. That right there, I feel like will help so many people. And I think so many people, like, especially if you feel like you've never felt it before, right? Actually assume it. Stop. There's no permission for you. Okay, there's no requirement, there's no threshold you need to walk through, or number of times you need to say something for you to have permission to assume that it's yours. It's only yours, right? And this is what Neville was saying when he's saying that you already have what you want. But your refusal to see that, your refusal to accept that, is the reason you're not experiencing it, right? So accept it without proof. That is the assumption, guys. Stop waiting for proof. Stop waiting for the mirror to change. You change, right? Assume it right now, you guys. Take your desire and assume, but what if I did though? I have it now. Okay, I have it now. Walk in that assumption, right? And see what happens from that. Okay, you guys? So I intend that this video helped you. I know it is, because these 3 things are so freaking powerful for you guys. Okay, they're so powerful, and they're kind of things that can be a little bit sneaky and a little bit backhanded, that you can't, sometimes you're not aware that you're doing, right? Which is why awareness is everything. But I love you guys. If you're interested in the group coaching program, email me to my email. If you want to do a one-on-one session, I have that link in the description as well. And I do create guided sat scenes, guided revision scenes for you guys as well. So I love you. You got this. I'm proud of you in advance. And I'll see you guys later.